Hi there, welcome to Talknet.
Hi, Dr. Ruben. I have a question about my father. 74 years old, and I believe he's an alcoholic, although he denies that. The problem is that while my mother died 18 years ago, he remarried, second wife died 5 years ago, and now he's on his third wife. And she's a very nice woman. She's really tried to involve him with the family. He had been very detached all his life. She's been a really good influence on him. But he continues to drink, and it's upsetting her very much. It's upsetting the family. I have 4 brothers and sisters, and she's about had it. And she has asked the family to confront him, see if that would help. Now, we've all confronted him on an individual basis and told him that he's going to lose her, and he has cataract, so it's hard for him to get around without a person to drive.
How much does he drink?
He drinks about a half a gallon scotch a week, which is...
So that's a quart. So he's drinking a couple, 3 drinks a day.
But they're very strong drinks. And he becomes abusive with her when he does drink.
Okay, so the quantity, if he drinks...
It's probably not the quantity.
It's not the quantity. You see, 32 ounces, if you drink 32 ounces of liquor a week, you're talking about 4 or 5 ounces a day, but that's enough for some people.
Right.
But the worst part of it is, see, a lot of people could drink, that could be 2 or 3 drinks a day, which would not constitute alcoholism. But the fact that he becomes abusive when he drinks, regardless of how much, is a sign that he's not able to control it.
Right.
So that does, by definition, put him into the category of alcoholism. And the problem is that people who are alcoholic or have a problem with alcohol abuse, we could put him in that category, tend to deny it and they won't seek treatment.
That's the problem.
And that's what you're confronted with.
What do we do with...
All of you can and should. You ought to get together, all 5 of you, and tell him that you're very concerned about him. And you're concerned that he's going to drive this very nice woman away. And you could threaten him, but you would have to mean it. That if he refuses to seek treatment, if he refuses to go to AA, for instance, if he refuses to get any help, that you children are not going to stand by him. That you're only going to stand by him if he does the appropriate thing and gets some help.
That's where we're at right now. We've pretty much, we've said that to him. However, since he can't drive, if he does need something, we hate to say no to him.
Well, that's where it's called tough love, and you have to tell him that you're not going to stand by and watch him ruin his relationship, that if either he gets help or you're not going to be there for him, and you force him basically to get help because you know that it's what's best for him. I'm Dr. Harvey Ruben. This is Talknet.
Well, yeah, but he has lots of, friends that are fishermen. He'll talk to those guys and they're his friends.
But he's more comfortable with that small group of people than he would be in a large family function, family affair.
Hey, did you ever hear the story about there was this guy that was on TV once, and my sister had told me about this. This is just like another thing on that point on my own fear of bringing him or anybody else to just a psychiatrist. That this guy came on and he said, if you ever go to see a psychiatrist and tell you your first day, if the psychiatrist tells you should be put on a drug, the psychiatrist said out loud in the talk show that you discontinue seeing that psychiatrist. And the next day it's read in the Washington Post that man's license was being tried to taken away from the psychiatrist.
No, you are filled with a great deal of misinformation, my friend. First of all, let me just explain to you that the American Psychiatric Association doesn't license anybody. Everybody is licensed by their local state board of medical examiners, number one.
Maybe that was it then.
And nobody's license could ever be taken away from them because they said something like you just said, that don't see a doctor who wants to give you medicine.
But that actually happened.
No, of course it didn't.
No, it did happen. My sister's actually living in Washington. She told me the story because she was shocked.
I can assure you that nobody's license was ever taken away from him because somebody suggested.
But it was his job. Was
No. You see, there's so much in the way of misinformation, and that's part of the thing that we try to do here on Talknet is correct the misinformation. You have a lot of bits and pieces of information, so you come away with impressions that I understand how you get them because the media plays these things up, but they're really, most of what you are hearing or seeing is inaccurate. And it's not your fault because you do see it, and your sister did hear something in Washington on the radio or television, wherever she heard it. But the media, unfortunately, plays up things in such a way that it tends to confuse and confound people rather than giving them the right information. People don't lose their licenses. There is such a thing as free speech. There's the First Amendment that says you can say whatever you want, and nobody can take away your license or your ability to practice or take your job. Well, they can try. So if you lost your job because you said something on television or the radio, you'd probably have the grounds for a lawsuit. The point is this. You called me about your husband. Your husband has probably a personality that makes him not want to be with other people very much. And you've been married to him for 5 years, if I remember correctly. Chances are he's been like this long before you ever met him, and he's going to be like this his whole life. And you're going to have to accept the fact that he's not the kind of a person who's going to be very happy going to family affairs. And what you have to do is think of ways to involve him in social activities with fewer people rather than large numbers of people. Chances are with fewer people, one or two couples, one or two family members, whatever, will be more comfortable and be more happy to be involved. And that's the approach you have to use. I'm Dr. Harvey Ruben. This is Talknet.